We can speak about this now with Behnam Ben Taleblu. He's a senior fellow at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Ben, always good to have you. How significant do you think this Israeli strike on Isfahan was?
I think with the distance and perspective of time, it will become more and more significant. Technically significant, politically significant, and perhaps even geostrategically significant if it managed to somehow establish deterrence again between Israel and Iran without having to do something overt. So much about the deterrence literature is both psychological and performative or public. In this instance, obviously, Israel had promised in advance of Iran's missile drone barrage on April 13, 14, that if Israeli territory was struck, Iranian territory was struck. So for a matter of Iran watchers and Israel watchers out there, it was just a matter of when, not if, this response would come. Now, some say that the lack of a public response is because the Biden administration may have constrained the Israelis from responding, in the same parallel fashion. But actually, the more that comes out about the strike, particularly ABC News reporting and Jerusalem Post reporting about the Israelis using aircraft rather than drones, so contra the reporting of the past 12 to 16 hours, shows an exceptionally capable Air Force being able to either penetrate Iranian air defenses, meaning Iranian air defenses don't work, or firing from outside.
So what message do you think Israel is sending with that?
Technical capability, the ability to actually target things that matter to the regime. You know, the Tehran may like to play the game of quantity has a quality of its own, but the Israeli version of that is simply quality, period. If the Iranians fired over 300 projectiles, ballistic missiles, land attack cruise missiles, and drones, the Israelis are reported to thus far have fired only 3 missiles. And in this instance have disabled at least part of a radar complex that may have been feeding into the larger picture that covers one of Iran's nuclear facilities. So it sent a particularly salient message that the Israelis can penetrate something the Iranians hold dear, and on a historic day, because April 19th is the supreme leader of Iran's birthday. He turned 85.
Very interesting point. I mean, the Iranians here have indicated they do not want to retaliate, but do you think both sides are able at this point to draw a line under this tit-for-tat escalation?
You know, even if they do withdraw, it certainly doesn't do away with the shadow war that Iran and Israel have been fighting in the Middle East, nor does it dampen the stated objective of the Islamic Republic when it says death to Israel. In fact, it might actually be worth noting that when all 3 parties are on the same page, silence, America, Iran, and Israel, that something may be afoot here.
Where do you think that leaves the U.S.? Because we know that the U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken kept repeating today, de-escalation, de-escalation. How much influence do you think it has when, of course, both sides are eager or keen to show that they will not accept a retaliation?
It's been the philosophy of the Biden administration, de-escalation and deconfliction, while both Iran and Israel believe in deterrence by punishment, larger kind of displays of force, or displays of force that convey a particularly salient political message. In the short term, the quest for de-escalation can actually underwrite the next batch of escalation. We've seen that by the Biden administration's failed attempt to get Iran to come back to the table for a nuclear deal. When you pull punches, sometimes it emboldens the adversary. In the case of Israel, however, it remains to be seen if there was some behind-the-scenes constraining of Israel or some working out as to a quid pro quo, okay, limiting the strike in Iran, but potentially widening the Israeli campaign back in Rafah, back in Gaza, which is the priority after 6 months for the Netanyahu government, as well as coordinating more broadly on containing the Iranian nuclear threat, which is an urgent threat.
So that would be my last question. Where does all of this leave Israel's war in Gaza?
It takes the focus back towards Rafah and Gaza, perhaps politically, but also in the media limelight. It's just a matter of green-lighting that operation, a matter of the optics for, I think, Prime Minister Netanyahu, who is intent on carrying it out. But that comes with the timetables, the optics, and the politics of 2024, which is an election year here in Washington.
Yeah, of course. All right, Behnam Ben Taleblu, thank you so much for joining us again here on BBC News.
Thank you.